The Galactic Council's first mistake. The Galactic Council sat at the center of the galaxy, a powerful alliance made up of the most advanced alien species. For centuries, they had ruled the stars, keeping their grip tight on all who dared to challenge their authority. To them, humanity was just another primitive species, small and weak compared to their mighty empire. The humans had joined the galactic community only recently, and most of the council thought they wouldn't last long in such a harsh universe. It was during a secret mission on the outskirts of council-controlled space that everything started to change. A group of Earth's finest soldiers had been sent to gather intelligence on the council's military operations. The mission was meant to be silent and quick, in and out without being noticed. But things didn't go as planned. Dragged before the Galactic Council, these human soldiers stood proud, even as they were surrounded by alien guards. The council members, towering figures with strange forms and glowing eyes, looked down upon them like insects. The leader of the council, a cold and calculating creature known as High Chancellor Vorak, sneered at the humans. "You dare to spy on us?" Vorak's voice echoed through the grand chamber, dripping with contempt. "You insignificant creatures will learn your place in the galaxy." The humans, however, remained silent. Their eyes, filled with defiance, met the cold stares of their captors. They knew the risks when they accepted this mission, and they knew what might come next, but they weren't about to give in easily. The Council believed that by torturing these soldiers, they could force them to reveal Earth's secrets, military positions, defense plans, anything that could give them the upper hand against humanity. To the Council, it was a simple task. They had broken stronger enemies before, and they were certain that humans, with their fragile bodies and short lives, would crack under pressure. The soldiers were taken to a dark, sterile chamber deep within the Council's fortress. Advanced alien technology ensured that the pain inflicted was intense, yet kept them alive. They were strapped into machines that sent waves of agony through their bodies, their minds pushed to the brink of madness. The Council's torturers asked the same questions over and over again. But to the Council's growing frustration, the humans stayed silent. Days turned into weeks, and still, the soldiers refused to speak. Their bodies were broken, bruised, and battered, but their spirits were unshaken. One of the soldiers, Captain Marcus Reed, was especially defiant. He had been in war zones before, had faced the worst that humanity had to offer, and had survived. Now, staring into the alien eyes of his torturer, he whispered through cracked lips, "You don't understand what you've started." The Council couldn't believe it. Never had they encountered such resistance from what they considered a lesser species. Other civilizations had buckled under far less, giving up their secrets to end the suffering. Yet these humans held firm, their loyalty to Earth and each other unbreakable. High Chancellor Vorak watched the proceedings with growing irritation. "Enough of this," he hissed. "Increase the pressure. They will talk, or they will die." But even as the torture intensified, as the Council pushed the humans to the very edge of death, they didn't realize they were making a terrible mistake. The more they tortured the soldiers, the more they fueled the fire of humanity's will to fight back. Earth had sent its best, and its best wouldn't break so easily. What the Council didn't understand was that humans had faced hardship for as long as they had existed. From the moment they took their first steps on Earth, they had battled nature, each other, and even themselves. Survival was in their blood, and their willpower was their greatest weapon. As Captain Reed endured another round of torment, he glanced at his fellow soldiers. They were beaten, yes, but still alive. He managed a faint smile, knowing something the Council didn't. Earth would not leave them behind. And when the time came, they would strike back. What the Galactic Council saw as weakness was actually humanity's greatest strength. The more they tried to crush the human spirit, the stronger it became. The Council, blinded by arrogance, had made a fatal error. They believed they were in control, that they could break humanity with their superior technology and overwhelming force. But they had underestimated what humans were capable of. Earth learns the truth. Back on Earth, the tension was rising. It had been weeks since the team of elite soldiers had gone silent. They were humanity's best, sent on a critical mission to gather intelligence on the Galactic Council, but now there was no word from them. Earth's leaders knew something had gone terribly wrong. In a high-security military base deep beneath Earth's surface, General Rachel Hayes stood in front of a large holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers blinked where the Galactic Council's borders stretched. Her expression was grim. Beside her, a team of Earth's top strategists and military officials waited for her to speak. "We've lost contact with Captain Reed's unit," she said, her voice cold but steady. "Our sources indicate that they've been captured by the Council. We have to assume the worst. They're being interrogated." Around the table, murmurs of concern rippled through the group. The Galactic Council was notorious for its brutal methods. The torture of prisoners was not uncommon, and the Council had no qualms about using whatever means necessary to extract information. General Hayes raised a hand, silencing the room. "But we've received something." A faint signal from one of the soldiers. Captain Reed managed to send out a distress message before they were taken deep into Council territory. The hologram shifted, revealing a small encrypted message. It was barely legible, but the meaning was clear. "Tortured. Do not negotiate. Hold the line. Earth must prepare." The message hung in the air like a weight on everyone's shoulders. Captain Reed and his team knew the risks when they accepted this mission. General Hayes continued. "And they've made it clear, we do not negotiate with the Council. If we show weakness now, they'll never stop. We have to respond. We have to send them a message they can't ignore." The room fell silent. Earth was still new to the galactic stage, still building its alliances and figuring out how to survive in a universe filled with advanced alien species. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity, seeing them as a minor player, one they could intimidate and control. But they were wrong. General Hayes turned to the screen, her eyes sharp. "We send them a warning," she said firmly. "We demand the release of our soldiers, and we make it clear, if they harm a single one of them, we will retaliate. They've taken our people, and they think they can break us. But they've underestimated us before. Let's remind them who we are." The Council of Earth's leaders debated for hours. Some argued for caution, believing that provoking the Galactic Council could lead to a full-scale war humanity wasn't prepared for. Others, like General Hayes, argued that showing fear would only invite more aggression. In the end, a decision was made. Humanity would stand firm. A message was sent to the Galactic Council. It was brief and to the point. "Release our soldiers. You have no idea what you're about to unleash. Run while you still can." Meanwhile, deep within the Council's fortress, Captain Reed lay strapped to the cold metal table, his body aching from days of torture. His vision blurred as pain pulsed through him, but his mind remained sharp. He knew Earth had received his message, and he knew they wouldn't abandon him and his team. His captors, alien creatures of various shapes and sizes, crowded around him, their voices filled with frustration. They had been unable to break him, unable to force any information from his lips. To them, it was unthinkable that such a fragile being could resist for so long. One of the interrogators, a tall alien with insect-like features, leaned in close to Reed. Its voice was a low hiss. "You are alone, human. Your people have forgotten you. You will die here, and no one will care." Reed, despite the pain, managed to smile. "You don't know my people," he rasped. "Earth isn't like you think it is. We don't leave anyone behind." The alien snarled, but there was a flicker of doubt in its eyes. It stepped back, hissing orders to the others. Unbeknownst to the Galactic Council, the warning from Earth had already been delivered. Their arrogance blinded them, and they dismissed it as empty bravado. They believed themselves invincible, untouchable. After all, they had crushed countless other species under their control. But they had never faced humans in a real conflict before. They didn't understand what made humanity different. They didn't understand that when pushed, humans pushed back with a ferocity that few could match. And now, with their soldiers in captivity and tortured, humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The Council's arrogance. Back at the Galactic Council's central hub, the warning from Earth had been received. But instead of instilling fear, it became a source of amusement. High Chancellor Vorak, leader of the Council, stood before the other alien leaders, the message from Earth displayed on a large screen behind him. Release our soldiers. You have no idea what you're about to unleash. Run while you still can. The council chamber echoed with laughter. Alien species from across the galaxy, each one proud of their dominance over countless worlds, chuckled at the boldness of Earth's message. Vorak, a tall and imposing figure with silver skin and eyes that glowed a dull red, smirked at the audacity of the humans. Do they really believe they can threaten us? Vorak asked, his voice smooth but filled with arrogance. These humans are no different from the others we have crushed before. They lack the technology, the power, and the experience to stand against us. The room hummed with agreement. The Galactic Council had been in power for centuries, conquering and absorbing weaker species into their empire. They saw Earth as just another primitive planet, a species barely out of its own solar system. The idea that these humans, with their short lives and limited knowledge, could pose any real threat was laughable. An advisor, a thin, snake-like alien named Korthel, stepped forward. High Chancellor, the humans have sent a warning, but it is clear they do not have the means to act on it. Their forces are limited, and their technology is still decades behind our own. Vorak nodded, his smirk widening. Exactly. They send a message in desperation, hoping to bluff us into releasing their soldiers. But we will not be swayed by empty threats. The Council's confidence was absolute. They had seen humanity's military capabilities before, during small skirmishes and diplomatic encounters. While the humans were certainly more resourceful than some species, they lacked the numbers and advanced weaponry that the Council possessed. Let them come, Vorak declared, turning away from the display. We will be ready, and we will show them what true power looks like. Their soldiers will serve as an example to the galaxy of what happens when you defy the Council. Meanwhile, Captain Marcus Reed remained trapped in the Council's fortress, his body weak, but his spirit unbroken. He had endured unimaginable pain at the hands of his captors, but he had never given them the satisfaction of seeing him break. Beside him, the other soldiers, those who had survived, shared the same resolve. They had all been trained for this, prepared for the worst. And now, they waited for Earth's response. One of the soldiers, Sergeant Elena Torres, whispered through the darkness of their cell. Do you think they got our message? Captain Reed nodded, though every movement sent waves of pain through his body. They got it, and they'll come. I don't know when, but Earth won't leave us here. Torres smiled weakly, leaning back against the cold metal wall. I just hope they give these aliens hell for what they've done. They will, Reed replied, his voice filled with quiet confidence. They have no idea what's coming. Back on Earth, the military was already mobilizing. The leaders of Earth's defense forces, led by General Rachel Hayes, had not taken the Council's refusal lightly. The Council might have been larger, more advanced, and more experienced, but the one thing they didn't understand about humanity was their will to fight. And now, they were preparing to strike back. In a secure underground facility, Earth's top military strategists and scientists were working around the clock. General Hayes stood in the command center, watching as the preparations continued. Satellites were being repositioned, fleets were being armed, and special forces were being assembled. Earth was planning something unprecedented, something that would shake the entire galaxy. How soon until we're ready? General Hayes asked, turning to her lead strategist, Colonel Andrew Chen. All forces will be in position within 48 hours, Colonel Chen replied, his tone focused and steady. We're coordinating with the Mars Defense Fleet and the lunar base. We'll hit them where they least expect it. Hayes nodded. Good. We need to move fast. The council thinks we're bluffing. Let's show them they're wrong. But it wasn't just about rescuing the soldiers. This was about sending a message, not only to the council, but to the entire galaxy. Humanity was no longer the fragile species the council believed them to be. They had learned quickly, adapted, and now they were ready to prove that Earth was not to be underestimated. The Galactic Council, blinded by its own arrogance, continued to treat the captured soldiers as mere pawns. They had no fear of Earth's retaliation, believing that their superior technology and sheer numbers would protect them from any human response. Vorak, in particular, dismissed the possibility of a significant threat. But Earth was preparing for something far beyond the Council's imagination. In the darkness of space, fleets of human warships, sleek and heavily armed, moved into position. Earth's finest soldiers, equipped with cutting-edge technology, stood ready to launch a daring rescue mission. They had trained for this moment, knowing full well the stakes, and in a final stroke of brilliance, Earth had developed a plan, one that involved tactics the Council had never seen before. It wasn't just about brute force. It was about strategy, cunning, and using every resource at their disposal. The Council thought they had seen everything in their long reign over the galaxy, but humanity, with its unmatched resilience and creativity, was about to teach them a lesson they would never forget. Humanity strikes back. The Galactic Council fortress, a towering behemoth of metal and stone, hovered in the depths of space like a menacing reminder of their dominance. Inside its cold, sterile halls, the captured human soldiers were held in isolation, tortured for information. But as the Council remained smug in their confidence, they were unaware that humanity had already set its plans into motion. At the edge of the Council's territory, far beyond the reach of their long-range scanners, Earth's fleet was assembling. Sleek, black warships, equipped with Earth's most advanced technology, moved silently through the stars. General Rachel Hayes stood aboard the flagship, her eyes locked on the display in front of her, watching as her forces fell into formation. "We're in position, General," Colonel Chen's voice came over the comms. "All fleets are ready. We're awaiting your command." General Hayes took a deep breath. This was it, the moment humanity would prove to the galaxy that they would not be broken, no matter the odds. They were outnumbered, and by most measures, outgunned. But what Earth had was something the Galactic Council had never fully understood. Resilience, adaptability, and a willingness to fight until the bitter end. "Initiate Phase 1, Hayes ordered, her voice firm. At her command, Earth's fleet engaged stealth mode, disappearing from sight as they moved closer to the Galactic Council fortress. Their ships were outfitted with cutting-edge cloaking technology, one of the many innovations Earth had developed while the rest of the galaxy remained unaware of their rapid advancements. The Council believed Earth's military to be inferior, but humanity had spent years quietly building, testing, and perfecting their capabilities. And now, they were about to unleash the full force of their ingenuity. Inside the Galactic Council fortress, Captain Reed and his team sat in their cells, battered but not broken. Despite the torture, they had held out, knowing that Earth would come for them. The guards, believing their prisoners were on the verge of collapse, had grown complacent. The Council's arrogance had seeped down to even the lowest ranks. Suddenly, a low hum echoed through the fortress, growing louder with each passing second. The lights flickered, and the ground trembled beneath them. Reed sat up, his instincts kicking in. Something was happening. Something big. The doors to the cells swung open, and guards rushed in, their expressions frantic. "Move," one of them barked, grabbing Reed by the arm. "What's going on?" Reed asked, playing the part of the weakened prisoner. "Shut up," the guard snapped. "Your planet is about to learn a very painful lesson." Reed's heart pounded in his chest. He exchanged a glance with Sergeant Torres, who was being dragged from her cell alongside him. The soldiers knew what this meant. Earth was coming. Their rescue was imminent. In space, Earth's fleet continued its silent advance. The Council's defenses were strong, but they had never prepared for an enemy capable of slipping past their sensors. As the fleet neared the fortress, the time for stealth ended. Phase 2, General Hayes commanded. The fleet decloaked in an instant, appearing out of nowhere like specters emerging from the void. Earth's warships unleashed a barrage of firepower, targeting the Council's defense systems with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions ripped through the fortress's outer shields, sending shockwaves through space. Inside the fortress, alarms blared as Council forces scrambled to respond. High Chancellor Vorak, seated in his command chamber, watched in disbelief as Earth's fleet attacked with a precision and ferocity he had never expected. His face twisted in anger. "How is this possible?" he growled, turning to his advisors. "How did they get this close without detection?" "They must have developed new technology," Korthel stammered, panic in his eyes. We didn't expect this from the humans." Vorak's anger boiled over. "Then we'll show them the consequences of defying the Council. Activate the defense grid." The fortress's massive turrets turned toward the incoming human ships, firing beams of destructive energy. Earth's fleet weaved through the barrage, moving with a grace that belied their size. They had trained for this moment, every pilot. Every soldier knew what was at stake. On the ground, Captain Reed and his team had been moved to a holding area, surrounded by Council guards. But in the chaos of the attack, they saw an opportunity. Reed, despite his injuries, was still a trained soldier, and so were his men. "Get ready," Reed whispered to his team, as the guards' attention shifted toward the chaos outside. "This is our chance." In a blur of motion, Reed lunged at the nearest guard, knocking the alien off balance and grabbing his weapon. Sergeant Torres and the others followed suit, overpowering their captors in a swift and brutal exchange. Within moments, they were armed and free. "We need to reach the communication center," Reed said, his voice urgent. "We can link up with Earth's forces and coordinate our extraction." The team moved through the halls, navigating the labyrinthine structure of the fortress. Outside, the sounds of battle raged on as Earth's fleet continued its relentless assault. The Council had been caught off guard, and for the first time, they were realizing that they had made a grave mistake. Back aboard Earth's flagship, General Hayes watched as the Council's defenses began to crumble. The battle was far from over, but Earth had the upper hand. Still, there was one final objective: rescuing the soldiers. "Send in the extraction team," Hayes ordered. A squadron of Earth's most elite soldiers launched from the fleet, racing toward the fortress in specialized dropships. They would land inside the fortress, locate the captured soldiers, and bring them home. It was a high-risk operation, but failure was not an option. Inside the fortress, Captain Reed and his team fought their way through the halls, taking down any guards that stood in their path. The fortress was in chaos, and the Council forces were struggling to contain the situation. As they reached the communication center, Reed hacked into the system, sending a signal to Earth's fleet. "This is Captain Reed. We're armed and ready for extraction. Coordinates locked." The extraction mission. Earth's fleet maintained its relentless assault on the Galactic Council fortress, but the real challenge was still ahead: rescuing the captured soldiers before the Council could launch a counterstrike. General Rachel Hayes stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching as the extraction team's dropships soared through the void, heading straight for the enemy stronghold. "Team Alpha, report status," Hayes ordered through the comms. "Approaching target zone." Commander Alec Carter's voice came back, calm and focused. He led Earth's most elite Special Forces unit, trained for the most dangerous missions humanity had ever faced. "We're going in." The dropships descended rapidly, their stealth technology masking them from the fortress's sensors. Carter and his squad, clad in advanced armor, were prepared for anything. Their mission was simple: get in, retrieve the soldiers, and get out before the Council could regroup. Inside the Galactic Council fortress, Captain Reed and his team had taken control of the communication center. The place was eerily quiet, save for the distant sound of explosions, as Earth's fleet continued its attack. "How long until they can get us out?" Sergeant Torres asked, her eyes scanning the doors for any signs of approaching council guards. "Not long," Reed replied, his fingers flying across the console as he transmitted their coordinates. "Extraction teams en route. We just need to hold this position until they arrive." But even as he spoke, the fortress's emergency systems activated. The lights dimmed, and a low, ominous hum filled the air. The sound was unlike anything they had heard before. "What is that?" Torres asked, her voice tense. Reed frowned. "Trouble." Back in the fortress's command center, High Chancellor Vorak watched with growing rage as his once impenetrable defenses were breached. His advisors scrambled, shouting orders, but the situation was spiraling out of control. "Activate the security drones," Vorak snarled, his hands gripping the armrests of his throne. "Deploy everything we have. I want those humans dead." Council engineers rushed to comply. In the bowels of the fortress, massive hangar doors slid open, releasing swarms of combat drones. These mechanical beasts were designed for one purpose: to exterminate any intruders with ruthless efficiency. Commander Carter's team hit the ground inside the fortress's perimeter, moving swiftly through the darkened corridors. They met little resistance at first. The Council forces were too distracted by the ongoing space battle. But as they neared the communication center, the air suddenly filled with the whirring sound of approaching drones. "Contact!" shouted Sergeant Hale, the squad's point man. From the shadows, a swarm of security drones emerged, their glowing red sensors locking onto the human intruders. Without hesitation, Carter's team opened fire, their weapons crackling with energy as they unleashed a hail of bullets and plasma rounds. "Keep moving," Carter barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We can't get pinned down here." The drones were fast, their metallic bodies absorbing damage that would have taken down a normal soldier. But Earth's elite forces were faster, more coordinated. They moved in perfect synchronization, taking out the drones one by one as they pushed forward. Meanwhile, in the communications center, Reed and his team could hear the sounds of the battle growing closer. The walls shook with each explosion, and the tension in the room was palpable. "They're here," Reed said, a hint of relief in his voice. "Let's gear up." The human soldiers quickly armed themselves with weapons they had taken from the council guards. Though exhausted and injured, their spirits lifted at the thought of finally escaping. But the distant rumble of the drones still echoed through the fortress, and Reed knew the fight wasn't over yet. "Captain, we've got company," Torres shouted, pointing to the security feed on the monitor. The cameras showed dozens of drones converging on their position. Reed cursed under his breath. "We need to hold them off until the extraction team arrives." The final weapon. The fortress trembled as the Galactic Council activated its ultimate weapon, a massive energy cannon, designed to destroy anything in its path. Deep within the heart of the Council's base, the device hummed to life, glowing with ominous red light as its power built up. High Chancellor Vorak stood in the command center, watching the progress with a twisted sense of satisfaction. "This ends now," Vorak muttered to himself, confident in the weapon's destructive potential. With one shot, he would erase the human fleet from the galaxy. Commander Alec Carter's extraction team, along with Captain Reed and his rescued soldiers, rushed through the fortress halls toward the extraction point. Every second mattered now, and they all knew it. The rescue had been successful, but the fortress was on the brink of unleashing destruction on a massive scale. "Extraction team to command," Carter shouted into his comm. "We've got the package, but the Council is about to fire some sort of energy cannon. We need immediate support." On the bridge of Earth's flagship, General Rachel Hayes listened grimly to the transmission. "We see it, Commander. We're targeting the weapon now, but that thing's shielded by some heavy defenses. You need to find a way to take it down from the inside, or we won't last long out here." Carter cursed under his breath, but quickly refocused. Understood. We'll do what we can. He glanced at Captain Reed, who was limping slightly but determined. Looks like we're not done yet. Never thought we'd leave without breaking their toys first, Reed replied with a half-smile, though the situation was anything but humorous. Back in the fortress's control room, Vorak barked orders to his technicians. Increase power to the cannon. I want them gone in one shot. Power levels are at 80%, High Chancellor. It will be ready to fire in 5 minutes, one of the engineers reported. Good. Let the humans see what real power looks like. As Carter's team moved deeper into the fortress, they finally caught sight of the energy cannon's control room. It was a massive chamber filled with alien technology, buzzing with energy, and guarded by heavily armed council soldiers. The cannon itself was housed in a reinforced silo, shielded by a thick energy barrier. There it is, Sergeant Hale whispered, his eyes narrowing as he surveyed the room. That shield's going to be tough to crack. We don't have time to figure it out, Carter replied. We take out the guards, then we take down that cannon. They moved quickly and silently, positioning themselves around the perimeter of the chamber. Carter gave the signal, and in a flash, his team opened fire, catching the council guards off guard. The room erupted into chaos as plasma bolts and bullets flew in every direction. Reed and his soldiers joined the fight, their combined firepower overwhelming the council forces. Within minutes, the guards were down, and the room fell eerily quiet. All right, how do we take this thing out? Torres asked, staring at the cannon's shielded control panel. Carter stepped forward, examining the system. This tech is advanced, but we've seen similar setups. If we overload their power grid, it should knock out the shield. Sounds easy, Hale said, already moving toward the exposed wiring and energy conduits. Let's get to work. As the team worked frantically to dismantle the control systems, alarms blared throughout the fortress. The power levels on the cannon were still rising, now at 90%. Time was running out. Come on, Torres muttered as she connected a series of explosives to the main power hub. Just a little more. Suddenly, a deafening rumble shook the chamber, and the lights flickered. Vorak's voice boomed over the fortress's loudspeakers. You fools! You think you can stop the might of the Galactic Council? Your efforts are meaningless. In moments, your fleet will be nothing but space dust. Humanity's last stand. High Chancellor voice echoed ominously through the halls of the Galactic Council fortress, but Carter's team remained focused. The power levels on the energy cannon had reached 95%, and the countdown to destruction was in its final moments. Earth's fleet, still locked in a fierce battle above the planet, would be obliterated if they didn't act now. Ignore the noise, Carter barked. Torres, how much longer? Just a few seconds, Torres muttered as she connected the last explosive charge to the power hub. The team had rigged the control systems to overload, but the cannon's shield was still up, and time was slipping away. Captain Reed, his face streaked with sweat, scanned the room nervously. We can't cut this any closer. We're not leaving without taking that cannon down, Carter said firmly. We've come too far to fail now. Above the fortress, the battle raged on. Earth's fleet was outnumbered but not outmatched. General Rachel Hayes monitored the situation, her eyes fixed on the energy cannon as it continued to charge. Commander Carter, Hayes said through her voice urgent, we're running out of time. The cannon's at 98%. You need to move, now. Understood, General, Carter replied. We're almost there. Inside the fortress, the power grid began to surge as the team's sabotage took effect. The lights flickered, and the energy field around the cannon crackled with instability. That's it, Torres shouted, stepping back from the power hub. The shield's destabilizing. We're in business. The energy field protecting the cannon flickered and then, finally, collapsed. High Chancellor Vorak watched in horror from the command center as the shield around his prized weapon failed. No, this can't be happening, he shouted, slamming his fists against the control panel. "Fire the cannon now." The engineers frantically tried to comply, but the power systems were overloaded. Warning lights flashed across their screens, and the cannon's firing mechanism froze. "It's too late," one of the engineers muttered, their voice trembling with fear. The cannon, now unstable, began to spark and tremble. A deep rumbling sound filled the room as the energy stored within the weapon threatened to explode. "We need to get out of here," Reed yelled over the noise. "This thing's gonna blow." "Fall back," Carter ordered, leading his team toward the exit as the cannon's systems reached critical mass. Outside the fortress, Earth's fleet watched as the Galactic Council's energy cannon, their ultimate weapon, detonated in a massive explosion. The blast was visible from space, a bright flash of light that briefly outshone the stars. General Hayes stood on the bridge of the flagship, her heart pounding as she witnessed the destruction. For a moment, there was only silence. "Commander Carter, do you copy?" Hayes called out, her voice tense. A crackle of static filled the, followed by Carter's voice. "We're alive, General. The cannon's down." Hayes exhaled a sigh of relief. "Good work, Commander. Earth owes you and your team." Back in the command center, High Chancellor Vorak stared at the destruction of his fortress, his face a mask of disbelief. The humans had done the impossible. His ultimate weapon was gone, and with it, the Council's hope of victory. You will regret this," Vorak muttered, though his words lacked conviction. The tide had turned, and the Galactic Council had suffered a crushing defeat. As Carter's team regrouped at the extraction point, Captain Reed leaned against the wall, exhausted but smiling. "Looks like we made it after all." "Yeah," Carter said, his own relief tempered by the losses they'd endured. "But it's not over. The Council won't stop with this." Reed nodded. "Maybe not, but they'll think twice before messing with humanity again." As the dropships arrived to extract the team, the sky above the fortress was filled with Earth's victorious fleet. Against all odds, humanity had prevailed once more, sending a clear message to the galaxy. Earth would not be conquered, and those who threatened it would face the full wrath of its people. In the aftermath of the battle, the Galactic Council's forces withdrew from the battlefield, shaken by their defeat. The message from Earth had been loud and clear. No matter the odds, humanity would fight for its survival, and they would win. The war was far from over, but the Council now knew that Earth was not a weak, defenseless world. It was a force to be reckoned with, and any who dared challenge humanity would face the same fate as Vorak's doomed fortress. As the dropships lifted off, Carter looked out at the wreckage below. "They tortured our soldiers, but we gave them a warning they won't forget. Next time, they'll think twice before underestimating us." With that, the ship soared into the stars, leaving the shattered remains of the Galactic Council's stronghold behind.